Board of Trustees of the College of Sequoias Community College District. Today is Monday, March 13th. It is 5:04, and we have no closed session reportable actions. And if we could stand, our Superintendent President will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With regard to public comment per board policy, hey Mac, board policy 2350, any person may address the board at this time either on an agenda item or other matters of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. A maximum of 5 minutes is allowed each speaker with a maximum of 15 minutes per item unless otherwise extended by the board. Public comments. We'll accept now the public comments concerning items on the agenda. Any public comment on the agenda? Hearing, seeing none. Public comments concerning items not on tonight's agenda. Anyone like to comment? Hearing, seeing none. Move to board and executive staff reports. Mr. Garbani, welcome. Do you have any items for us this evening?
I apologize for being a few minutes late.
Not at all, not at all. We're just glad to have you.
Thanks. So for the month of February, the COS Student Senate and student body had a few things going on. First, we had the Giant Hearts event take place on Visalia campus. That was on February 13th to the 14th. It was a great turnout. That provided an event for Club Rush to take place and Student Senate to hand out prizes and swag bag gifts to the students. Secondly, on the Visalia campus, Student Senate hosted a baseball tailgate near the baseball fields on March 7th. It was an all right turnout because it was kind of back in the back parking lot, so students didn't really have a way to know other than through social media that it was going on. So we're hoping to do better in the near future with tailgates for other sports teams here on campus with that. The Student Senate is leaving for Washington, D.C. this upcoming week from Friday to Thursday to attend a leadership conference and tour the nation's capital. So that'll be a good time. That'll be fun and a great learning experience. Coming up this upcoming month, we have Grad Fest on March 25th and another potential tailgate on that day for the swim meet on campus. And then as far as the other campuses go, I only have for Tulare, they hosted a de-stress event for midterms on March 7th. They're also hosting a job fair on March 21st. And then this past month, the Ag Business Club traveled to Fresno State to gain insight from recently admitted students, and then they toured the Fresno State Farm. On both campuses, there have been a few additions to clubs on campuses, like the Wellness Club on the Tulare campus, the Me Club, which is a Planned Parenthood Generation Action Club, and the Pre-Healthcare Club on the Visalia campus. And that's all I have for now. Thanks.
Board member reports.
I have none.
Okay.
Yes. First of all, I hope the baseball tailgate wasn't like the football tailgates that I go to at Fresno State, because you guys are too young for that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, no. No, I don't think so.
Max looking at you like, what are you talking about?
I attended the groundbreaking ceremony, as did all the rest of us, in Tulare a couple weeks ago on a beautiful rainy day, which I think we're probably all can agree that we've had a little bit enough rain for the time being anyway. But anyway, that was a great event. When it was indoors, the crowd, it was a great big crowd. And some good comments were made, and I heard a lot of great comments from those in attendance. And I would just mention that one in particular gave a lot of kudos to the passion that Luann Waldner brought in her presentation and how impressed they were with the whole function and what's going on over there in Tulare especially. So it was a great event.
I actually just wanted to share my appreciation and admiration for the Puente program and just make a few comments on that. I've been meeting with my mentee on a regular basis. He is deciding whether he wants to go into accounting or to finance, and so I appreciate just learning more about him and then setting up opportunities for him to meet community members who are in accounting and finance and allowing him to ask questions. I begin him homework assignments, and I really do appreciate that interaction with the COS student. And just even what the Puente program does, last week they took students to UC Riverside to kind of explore campus, and I think for me that made a difference. I would have probably never known about Cal Poly unless I would have gotten a tour with other students, and so I do appreciate the things that the Puente program is aiming to accomplish with the students here at COS. Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to echo what Ken mentioned about the Tulare. I just ditto that. I'm not going to repeat what he said, but I had the same feedback from all the comments that were made, you included, how just energizing it was. And I think it starts at the top over there. Someone started us off really good, but the momentum just carried throughout from beginning to end. And for it being indoors and having to make do with what we had there, the logistics were great. So thank you to everybody.
Nice they brought dirt in so we could shovel.
That's right. Let's see. In addition to what was said, was a proud participant seeing several faces here, even in the audience. The men's and women's basketball. I didn't see the women's, but I saw the men's basketball game, which could have gone either way. What a bunch of just gentlemen, I believe, is my perception. I don't know any of them individually. I only observe what I see on the court, but my goodness, just what a wonderful testament to mankind, to men and mankind, just the way they conduct themselves and the coaching staff. And I mean, because it doesn't just happen, they really, I feel, pour into them much more than basketball. And so my hope and prayer is that they take that with them. Take basketball, of course, but they'll take the rest of it with them for the rest of their lives and will really impact generations. So that was just awesome. Very pleased and proud to have been there to witness that. With that, foundation report, Mr. Foster.
Just have a couple of brief announcements. I just wanted to share with you these dates, some of which you've already seen before. But April shapes up to be a pretty busy month for us. We have 3 CSF luncheons. There's an equestrian fundraiser happening on the 21st. The President's Cup, I'm sorry, that's April 28th, not 21st, 8th. And the COS Scholarship Night, we are now having that back again, so we look forward to having that. We're not having parents and loved ones in the audience. It's just the recipients and the donors again this year to keep it intimate with that conversation. So we look forward to having that. And just one other thing that's kind of off the calendar, but it is something certainly that I'm involved in as a club advisor for the COS Rotaract Club, Rotaract being a offshoot of the Rotary International. So this is our opportunity as a club to go beyond what we do normally, which is helping out Rotary clubs with their events, their service projects and their fundraisers. And we organize a service project, and we organize it here on campus. So on April 8th, Saturday, April 8th, from 10 to 12, we'll be on the Porter Fieldhouse assembling 20,000 meals with an organization that brings the raw ingredients on pallets and then all the measuring and packaging equipment to meal pack that into family meals of 6, and then box it up and have it ready for transport. And then we've done this for 3 years already. This will be our 4th year doing it, but this will be the first year that it's not an international hunger relief project. It's a local hunger relief project. So we will be distributing those 20,000 meals to local food pantries, including the Giant Pantry. So it's an exciting little time for us. And it's just another opportunity for us as the college to convene the community to do something good.
Tim, what's the organization that heads that up or brings all that in? Are they a national or a state?
They are a national
National.
company, and the name's escaping me honestly, Lori. It's the name's escaping me.
Are they funded though through our local food bank or food?
No,
Programs
they're a
that are already out
nonprofit
there?
organization that purchases food products in bulk and organizes these events. And so we, as Rotarians, are funding the project. So it's about a $8,000 project.
For 20,000 meals?
For 20,000
I see,
meals.
okay, so they do it as a service in order to, I see,
Right.
they're the vehicle.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if they were getting the donations from like our Central Valley Food Bank or
No,
anything like that.
none of that, yeah.
I see.
Yeah, our expectations is that we would be able to turn around and give
Yes.
this product that we've now imported into our community to the food banks for their distribution directly to the families.
Thanks for your role in that, Tim. Next up is the accreditation report. Dr. Lucerna.
Dr. Lucerna may or may not make it back, but she asked if I could give her report. I think you've been copied on the a report that she gets from the ACCJC. But just a reminder that our accreditation work group has met on several occasions. I see Dr. Prochnow in the back there. She's one of them. A tri-chair for Standard 4, I believe, but the groups are meeting and starting to do a gap analysis and in preparation for beginning to write our next ICER. As crazy as that sounds, it's being calendared and we're working towards it. So looking forward to it. Several of us are on accreditation site visits this spring. Mine got postponed for snow and freeway closures 2 weeks ago, so it's been rescheduled for the first week in May. In fact, I'll be on the road trying to make it back for that scholarship night from way up around Shasta. So anyway, Dr. Harris, Dr. Lucerna, Dr. Prochnow, and the whole team are working hard to get this thing calendared and get it going. So thanks to everybody for pitching in. Am I still up?
You are up.
Okay.
Superintendent President's
I'll take
report.
that first bullet point because it's there. The 3CT board elections happen every spring. We will get a slate of nominations via email. Megan and I share them with the board. You can give me any individual feedback if you have it, and generally I just work with the board president to make our vote. We've done that in the past. So if you have any feedback on a particular candidate, let me know. Generally, no. I normally base our decisions based on recommendations from other superintendents and so forth. But certainly, if you have an idea, let me know. This is kind of who represents our region on the state trustee board that Raymond represents our board on. So, and does a.
Getting lots of emails.
Me too.
I just asked Raymond if he wants to run.
Maybe.
I didn't get a yes. I got a maybe.
So anyway, just prepare yourselves for that. I had planned on saying a little something about the CTE groundbreaking ceremony as well, because we had so much planned for an outdoor event, and then, it was probably less than 12 hours that we decided that we really did need to bring it indoors. It sounded kind of funky to bring a groundbreaking ceremony inside, But, yeah, between Luann, Jonna, Michelle, the entire faculty and staff, it seemed like at Tulare, they were able to bring it inside Building A, and then Byron and Aaron and the facilities folks were great to actually build a trough like that, 8x5 or whatever it was, and fill it up with dirt. There was a heck of a lot
An
of dirt.
oversized coffin.
Yeah, it really was. It looked like a coffin built for me. I got a little nervous there. It's plenty long enough for me to fit in there. Anyway, and it just turned out to be a great event. I mean, 150 people in Building A just kind of seemed like a rock concert. It was just really, really neat to see so many people show up for a groundbreaking ceremony in what they thought was going to be in the rain. They showed up thinking it was going to be in the rain, and we moved everybody inside. So even more impressive when you look at it
People
that way.
enjoyed it a lot more too, because you weren't cold, and I do like that, it seems like that those people tend to get spread out because you're outside, right?
Yeah.
And you really can't hear, and to have everybody close up and listening, and, might be just a suggestion or a thought for next time if you do it, make sure everybody's in a certain area, because it made it a lot more inviting, that everybody
We
wasn't
have
so
those
spread out.
temporary pasture fences. Maybe we'll just pull some of those.
Corral
and
people in.
Treat them like cattle.
Well, hey, you give them coffee and cookies, that helped too.
Yeah.
Keeps everybody inside and.
And then on the subject of Rotary, we work very closely with the various Rotary clubs, not only in town, but in the region. And one in particular, the Downtown Rotary Club, is doing a scholarship drive to support the partnership that we have with Fresno State, asking for $1,000. And they've only been doing it for maybe 6 weeks or so. And I think they've got 10 or 12 donors already of $1,000 or more. And it's designed to support the Local Heroes Fund, enable us to provide a $1,000 scholarship for COS graduates that walk across the street and go to Fresno State. So pretty cool to start that, and in the first 6 weeks have $12,000. So they're going to continue pushing that. Scott Jacobson is the president and just does a wonderful job. And then on the subject of Fresno State and that partnership, I did meet with the president at Fresno State, Dr. Saul Jimenez Sandoval, as well as his provost and his director of government relations here 2 or 3 weeks ago, just to shore up some of our plans and dispel a few different things that were kind of leaking out there. Kind of talk about somehow us being our own CSU. It's sort of, for us, it's kind of crazy talk, right? But Fresno State hears these things and thinks, is the partnership changing? So we were able to kind of just talk through what we're planning on doing, and they're as excited as the very first day that they came on our campus, and so are we. So looking forward to that. And then tonight after the board meeting, I'm driving to Sacramento trying to beat some of this rain because I have a meeting with several folks in our legislature about how they can support this partnership and so forth. So really looking forward to that. We've got time. I don't expect anything to be done, but it's just fun to have people other than us being excited about this partnership. So looking forward to that. Also wanted to share my enthusiasm for our 2 basketball teams, again, for the 3rd straight championship season. And when I say that, it's, we take out COVID because there wasn't an Elite 8, but for the 3rd straight time, COS has had both their men and women in the state Elite 8. In that time, no other school has had both teams in a single tournament. So that's really special. I think our men have made it 5 of the last 7 years, and the women have made it 6 of the last 8. Really cool, just fun, and it's really fun in the few weeks ahead of that when we're hosting conference games that really matter, and then playoff games that determine who gets to go, to see, whatever it is, 1,000 people or so, 1,200 people show up at our Porter Fieldhouse, because they're not just seeing basketball. You guys know we brainwash them. They see all kinds of our videos on the cool things we're doing on campus, and timeouts, halftime, before and after games, we're playing our videos and making announcements and so forth. So I just think all that's good for COS, and so congratulations to our two teams, made us proud again. And then finally, I'm going Thursday to see Jekyll and Hyde, but I'm told it's really, really good. So Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday matinee, and then Saturday night. If you have time, go and check it out. The folks in our office say that it's really, really good, and I've got my tickets for Thursday, and so I'll be there. With that, I'll hand it back to you, President Lane.
Mr. President,
Yes.
if I could, I don't want to take too much time, but I just wanted to maybe tell a very short story about the basketball situation. And early on in the season, it caught my eye that on the roster of the ladies' team was a young lady from Lisbon, Portugal, and a young lady from Ecuador. And so that all year I've been kind of wondering, well, how in the heck, how did this happen? And so over the weekend, I had the opportunity to speak with one of the basketball coaches, and I asked him, well, how did this happen? Well, it turns out both of these young ladies were in Florida at a school, and the school there were some issues with the program, and the program was being disbanded. And apparently, last year, they had watched the online video of COS basketball and thought, well, maybe they wanted to get to California. So they made a cold call to the coaching staff here.
Wow.
And so I was told that the coach said, well, are you any good?
They were watching the live stream last year
Yeah.
of this same tournament. They were watching the they figured, well, we're in Florida, might as well try California. We'll watch the state championships. And they watched the 4 games, and I don't know if they called all 8 schools or if they just liked the
Well, I'd like to think
looks
they
of our
just called us.
Maybe they just saw the handsome board member in the stands last year.
They
I don't know
saw
what-
just a couple Portuguese names on the board, just a couple.
But in any event, not only were they good, I mean, they were starters, and they were probably all league, all conference players.
Both of them were all league, and then Maria from Lisbon was all state. Yeah, and just wonderful. I think, and both of them are taking 18 or 20 units just to make sure that they're out this spring and on to a 4-year. They're both being heavily recruited and just.
So they'll keep playing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, they'll both get full
Wow.
scholarships
Good for them.
to go play somewhere next year, and yeah, just remarkable. So, good story.
Thank you for the time, Mr. President.
Next up are our reports, Academic Senate President's Report. Mr. Arzola, greetings.
Good evening, Board President Lane, honorable board members, and Superintendent President Dr. Calvin. A real short report. I do want to make sure that you all have it on your calendars. May 10th, the Academic Senate will be holding the Faculty Service Awards. Obviously, this is the first time that we'll be able to meet in person to do this. So we're hoping that the board might consider showing up. I believe the Academic Senate meets from 4:10 to 5:30, but when it comes to the Faculty Service Awards, the first hour is dedicated to the awards. So 4:10 to about 5:10, and then we'll kick everybody out, or unless you want to stay for the Academic Senate meeting, more than welcome.
Right over here in room
May
1,
10th.
right?
Yeah, right, it's Sequoia Room 1. And then just want to offer my apologies for not showing up on the Friday for the CTE groundbreaking ceremony. Those of us who are married know that you don't get to 30+ years not missing your spouse's medical appointment. So I prioritize that. Sorry. That's it. Thank you.
Smart man. Thank you. Costa, President's Report. Ms. Redden, please.
So remember when we had faculty against the baseball team? Do you remember those days? I think I had some play in there, but I had my one shot and I missed.
Oh, the basketball game?
Basketball. I had to say something about basketball. Yeah, the faculty used to play the team,
Oh,
the
wow.
basketball team. It's a long time ago. I was under 30, I think.
Did they tie their ankles or something?
We can arrange that. Are you calling them out? We can, let's.
Well, you know who used to play in it, though. We were getting kind of old. Yeah.
We have some pictures. They moved it to Mount Whitney Gym, and it was like Tom Gilchrist and
Yeah.
Paul Gorley, Bill Betancourt, against the women's team. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We got some great pictures. Tim has them. Yeah, we got a bunch of those pictures. Yeah.
So legislative update, real quick. There's a new government code, AB 1949, that took effect this January that increases our ed code that on bereavement leave from 3 days to 5 days out of state to just a total of 5 days. So it's just a slight change. Our three unions at COS, CASA, CSEA, and CASAFA, we've met and have organized a tri-union event to go watch a Rawhide game. So it should be fun. We're excited about that. Last, our STEM faculty are extremely proud of Eric Ramos for qualifying to present at the National Chemistry Conference in Indianapolis, and that's on the agenda tonight, so.
Thank you very much,
Thanks, Tracy.
and for the call out. CSEA President's Report, Ms. Kane, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. The
Can
only
we hear
item,
about your day?
we don't have time for my day. The only item I have for you is to invite you all, if you are free, it is a little bit short notice, but on March 29th, it is a Tuesday, the CSEA, PACE and CSEA will be sponsoring our staff achievement awards. We'll be celebrating a combined 345 years of service this year for the individuals receiving awards. So if any of you are able to make it, we'd love to see you there to celebrate.
That's a fun event.
329, where and when?
It is going to be in room 1.
Okay.
I believe 11:30 is the correct time. Yes, that sounds right.
Thank you. Appreciate the heads up. COSAFA President's Update, Ms. Alberti, going once, twice? No fill-ins? Okay, on to information. First item is above base resource allocation, 2022-23. Dr. Calvin?
Thank you, President Lane. We've been through this before. You're familiar with our processes for above-base budgets. These are one-time requests as opposed to the base budget augmentations that we'll see at a future date. But these are above-base budget requests, one-time items. They also come through program review. If a division needs extra equipment or maybe travel expenses for a conference or something like that, and things of a one-time nature, they'll make that request in program review. There's generally about $300,000 to spread across all of the requests. This year we had that plus some carryover of $143,000, so a nice chunk of money. The Budget Committee received 17 of those requests, totaling about $563,000. They were prioritized down, and I think we approved, looks like 13 of the 17. The remaining 4, totaling $123,000, were sent to the foundation, facilities, and/or the academic student services budgets for alternative funding, and you can see them there. Ron and the Budget Committee have done a nice job by kind of charting out sort of what made it into the above base funding and then what got carried over into other areas. And again, just kind of for information, you'll recall that at one time in our existence, we wouldn't necessarily fund these in a tough budget year. I'm not suggesting we're going to have a tough budget year, but we've really tried to do a good job in this area because it just gives divisions that much more incentive to do a good job with their program review, to show the progress that we're making towards district objectives and goal areas, and then talk about kind of the needs of that division, what they need to kind of take that final step or what have you. And so we've had some really, really good requests since we've begun that process. We funded, and I think you'll agree with me that this is something that needs to continue to be funded, because we do get some great requests, and I love the fact that if you miss out on a base budget allocation request, there are several different safety nets, like the foundation, like facilities, like your VP's supply budget, that maybe can come alongside and pick up some of those that don't get prioritized by the budget committee. So anyway, this is what we have. Went through $440,000, and we have the remaining, I think, picked up in other areas.
Questions, comments? Great. Awesome. Next up, Mr. Perez, talking about one-time funds and unrestricted general fund, 2022-23 one-time funds expenditure plan.
Yes, good evening, Board. This is informational, this part. Next meeting, board meeting will be for action. But just to give you a little overview of what Dr. Calvin just talked about, and you hear it's the three-legged stool on how we do resource allocation here at the district. The first leg is the above base process. Second leg is base budget augmentation, which means ongoing expenditures, i.e. new staff, discretionary funding to operations, supplies, utilities, what have you. We're currently doing that now. We're going to meet in senior management about what every division is looking at and what our threshold for taking on additional expenditures. What we do is we wait for the May revise to come out after the governor says, hey, and the legislature and LAO and office and everybody, Department of Finance says, this is what the budget's going to look like. We look at our budget, we say, and then we'll go and say, we feel comfortable bringing on X amount of continuing expenditures into our budget. Again, we'll know that after May. And this third leg is, and you see this every month, our budget accountability report, our budget working budget report, and so what is our estimated surplus at the end of the year, what it's looking like. And it starts, this year started about 11, and we're tracking about 11.5 million. So what happens is the superintendent president and my position look at the overall district needs and see what we could use this money for. What we've done in the past, we paid off all of our long-term debt. We fully funded our OPEB, other post-employment benefits. Very few districts have done that. We also were able to sell the Tulare bonds, 22 million, but we also put up another 12 to 15 million of our one-time funds to build the Tulare CTE Phase 2, which you did the groundbreaking. So this is a proposal, and again, information only on the proposal that we want to put the 11 million. And if you're familiar with, remember the emergency conditions allowance, when COVID hit, the district, or Chancellor's office knew all districts were going to lose or FTES or apportionment revenue. They said districts can sign up for the ECA saying, you check this box the first 2 years, you check a box. Third year, we had to do a whole plan and what have you. And we'll still fund you off of your 19 spring numbers, even though you're not earning that FTES or the students are not there yet, because we don't want you to be hurt financially. So you'll see our first recommendation is to put COS special reserve. It's so $5 million into emergency conditions allowance. Year to date, emergency conditions allowance, we've received a little over 11.6 million in emergency condition allowance funding over the last 2.5, 3 years. Even though the last 2 years they can't come back and get it, this year, if for some reason we didn't follow through with any of the plans that we had to make for ECA, it's about 2.5 million that they can take back. But again, rather be safe than sorry, put 5 million there. Once December hits this calendar year, they can no longer take that back. So we'll look at that next year on where to put that 5 million. The second is the CTE. Again, the board issued that contract award in January, about 36 million. Byron and his team, the architects and the contractors are looking at a little, what we call value engineering, about 1.5 to 2 million out of the project. Nothing that will negatively impact the project, but some aesthetic kind of stuff. Again, he's working with those contractors, working with the faculty, working with the provost on what we identify there. And then lastly, $1 million for technology. And if you scroll up a little bit, Megan, down. Their ask, Glenn, our Dean of IT, about $3.1 million. And what this is for outdated fiber fiber optics that are in the ground, cabling, replacement of all these computers or the projectors. Remember, we had all that 32 million in COVID HERF funds that we were able to upgrade all the smart classrooms. We did the high flex, what have you. But again, we need to maintain those and replace those. So that's $1 million just to get IT started. So again, the 5 for emergency conditions allowance, 5 for the CTE building, another $1 million for technology. So that's our proposed plan for 11 million of surplus. Again, this is more informational. Next, we'll bring the next meeting, next month, we'll bring a resolution for you to vote on to approve. Again, this has gone through Budget Committee. It was approved at DGS and then to you as information. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions, comments?
COS 2.0
No?
at work.
Ron?
All right, thank you.
Ron? Next up is the consent calendar, item 8. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. An item may be removed from the consent calendar at the request of any member of the Board of Trustees or any person in the audience and considered as a separate agenda item. We have the following for consideration: minutes for the previous meeting of February 13th, personnel report, payment of bills, 2022-23 working budget approval, out-of-state travel requests for the chemistry department, and the item referenced by Ms. Redden, out-of-state travel requests for the equestrian team, and pharmacy tech agreements. So entertain a motion to either pull any of those items or approve as presented.
I have a question. I'm not
Yes.
wanting to pull anything. On the equestrian team, is that for both trips? Or is it just saying they're going to one and then the other one? There were 2 trips on there for the equestrian team. Do they get to go to both, Kentucky
They
and?
won't know. I don't think they'll know. I think it's a.
Unless they
it's a-
qualify.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
it's a progressive type.
So are we
thing,
approving both if
I
they
think
make
you're-
it?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
got it.
Great question.
Yeah, no, I'm glad they get to go. That's awesome.
Any other questions, comments?
I would move for approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Moved by trustee Nunes, seconded by trustee Sherman to approve the consent calendar as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Next up are the reports. Action items, curriculum, new, modified, and deleted. And Dr. Calvin, will you be presenting that this evening, or should we review that item 10?
I will be presenting it. Thank you.
Okay.
Consistent with previous reports, we have course modifications on let's see, first through 5th page. Quite a number of work experience coursework. And then most of these are course content and textbook updates. You'll see that in the 4th column over, it describes kind of what was changed and so forth. And then on page 6, we got into course deletions for courses that have not been taught in over 2 years. All of these have come through our curriculum committee process under the Academic Senate and been approved there. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions, comments?
I move we approve.
Second.
Moved by trustee Sherman and seconded by trustee Cardoza to approve the attached list of courses and programs as part of the district's curriculum. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, the same, and no abstentions. So passes unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Calvin. Next up is the new Mr. Woods, the Energy Conservation Project and Energy Services Contract.
Yes, Byron would be here, but he's dealing with flood issues at his property, so he's dealing with that today, so I told him I'd take care of this. Again, this is requires a public hearing to open and close. If you'd like, President Lane, I'll go ahead and present it, and then if you would, open and close afterwards, and y'all can vote. Again, this is funded by the Chancellor's Office giving districts sustainability money for energy efficiency projects. Again, part of the Board of Governors initiative is solar and anything with energy efficiency, providing shading to our parking lots and what have you there, LED lighting, which we're going to be looking at. Just FYI, and just a reminder, in May of 2020, the board entered into an energy services agreement with Compass Energy Solutions. And what they do is they look on our behalf of the district to look at any energy efficiency projects. They just finished the Hanford PV project, and then we had them look at Tulare PV. And as you remember, when the provost at Tulare, Luann, presents her financials for the farm ops, you'll see a big expenditure in that as utilities because they pump water almost 24/7. So we looked at ways of how, though we have the PV out there right now, but that's only for the buildings out there, nothing for the farm ops. So we asked the Compass Energy Solutions to take a look over at farm ops and how we can offset the cost of pumping. So again, their proposal is, and I think on page 7, I think it is on this, it's a diagram of PV in lot 3. It's 251 kW. Again, this will, at its peak, offset 67% of the energy utility bills for, I'll say Luann, for the provost, for the Tulare farm ops. So again, if you just kind of show that rendering, Megan, if you would, you'll see where it's put. And it's about $2.4 million, again, all funded from the state for energy efficiency. It's small, but you can see it there. They did have showing 3 big rows, but we asked them to break it up because, again, it's not only for PV offset, solar utility, but also for shading. You know how hot it gets out there. So we asked them to break it out in shading. So a little extra still. Again, as you see the current PV lot in the upper left-hand corner, we're tying into that utility. And again, it'll be offsetting 67% of the utility cost just for the farm op. So we're hoping when she presents next year, that utility bill, you'll see a reduction. That's what we're all going for.
When is the project expected to be done?
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
But DSA is usually a 6-month process.
Well, you said next year's budget.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, wow.
I spoke way too soon.
I'm like, that's
So it
going to
takes-
be done soon.
That was good. When are you gonna be done? We haven't approved this yet. When are you gonna be done?
Well, I just heard him say next year's budget. I'm
Not
like,
next
next
year,
year, that's
year
great.
after, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Since we're being taped and it's gonna be on.
I was getting all excited
Yeah.
thinking, wow, I'm going to see some solar
thank you for
structures up there
picking
next week.
So again, 6-month DSA, you'll probably break ground into this year or the beginning of next year. And again,
Pretty
it's only
soon,
a
okay.
3 or 4 month process.
Yes,
to get that
okay.
going. What's good is the students don't park over there. So that's, we don't have to clear anybody out, just staff and folks that work in the farm ops area. So again, 2.4 million, 251 kW. In order for the board to approve, we do need a hearing, President Lane, to open and close under Government Code 4217, recognizing that the proposed net savings over 25 years is just short of $6 million, $5,901,367.
I'll be about 80 years old, so I hope I'm around to see if that works.
You will.
You'll still be asking
I'll
for
be
reports.
sitting out there.
I want a report. When's the next one?
And again, if familiar with Tulare as the other project with all the dust and what have you, so
All right.
best case scenario.
Lots
Okay.
of cleaning involved in the future. All right, so at this point, we will open the public hearing. And this is for, in consideration of Resolution 2023-01, and it is a energy conservation project and energy services contract contemplated with Compass Energy Solutions as outlined by Mr. Perez. At this point, we will take anyone who has comments in favor of the project, Seeing none, is there anyone who has comments in opposition to this project? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and move it back to the Board of Trustees for discussion or consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt Resolution 2023-01.
Second.
Moved by trustee Nunes, seconded by trustee Macareno to approve resolution number 2023-01. Is this roll call, Megan?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Nunes?
Aye.
Trustee Macareno?
Aye.
Trustee Cardoza?
Aye.
Trustee Sherman? Trustee Lang?
Aye. And passes unanimously.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you. So I guess we can't ask you any, like, facility questions or anything like that now that you're, sort of have some experience? Okay. Next up is the board policies. We have quite a number of policies. Dr. Calvin.
We have a
First read.
first read tonight on the 8 board policies in front of you. We're going through the Chapter 2, the 2000 series currently. Special kudos to the Academic Senate and the District Governance Senate for making it a priority to get through these. It's always a time-consuming thing to pull these out, even for the most minor modifications, because everybody has to read through them and there's questions and so forth. So both those groups have done a great job with pushing these forward. Eight board policies, pretty straightforward. Happy to answer any questions you might have on them, but if not, we'll bring them back in April for a second read and we'll seek your, I guess, we'll have a final look in April, right?
Yes.
Yes. So approval tonight means you get to see it in April.
I just had a question on the annual organization meeting. I know we've talked about this and I just forgot. If you can just recall for me, we changed that from the first to the second Friday, and I know that was due to some date, right? What was it with the county?
The county Office of Elections has a timeline that we need to meet and swear in new members, right? And so in the years where we have an election, we need to do it in a certain amount of days from the election, and so our old one didn't allow us to do that. Does that come
Moving
close
it
to
later,
explaining?
though.
Yeah, and this happened probably just a couple years ago, this switch.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're going later in the month. I thought it had to be closer to the election, but we're moving our meeting, right? Am I reading that right? We have to have it within a 15, beginning with it was the first Friday, and we're moving it to the second Friday.
Oh, they were having such an issue with counting votes that they
They
wanted
didn't
us
allow
to-
enough time.
Yes, that's what it was.
So now we're making it later, so we make sure all
Yes.
votes are counted. Okay,
Because,
that makes sense.
yeah, we
Okay,
would have had an
thanks.
issue, well, obviously, like Measure C,
Yes,
heck, we
yeah,
wouldn't have
yeah.
known it by that. If that was in one of our candidate elections, we would have been in trouble. So that's what it was.
Yep, okay, good enough. I wasn't sure if I missed something else there that I needed to know about.
Yeah, it was all generated by the county, though.
Yep.
They're the ones that told us we needed to move.
Okay.
Motion to approve the first reading of the board policies as presented.
Second.
Motion by trustee Macareno and second by trustee Cardoza to approve the first reading of the board policies listed on the agenda. I would note that I just had some very minor consistency questions with regard to 2015 that President Calvin committed to addressing, so it does not impact the overall purpose or functionality of the policy. With that, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, and so it passes unanimously. Thank you. And that concludes the items that we have on our agenda for this evening. If there's no other board member comments, seeing none, we stand adjourned.